Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Bright Side of Beauty podcast, presented by Beyond Skin Aesthetics. Today, our guest is one of truly my dearest, closest people on this planet. She is somebody that every single time I see her, I get emotional, and every time I have to say, see you later, I get more emotional. There are always tears, happy tears, sad tears, joyful tears. There's always tears. There is always prayers and uplifting when it comes to our guest today. And she has truly been a friend, a mentor, a sister in Christ, everything within this past year. And I can't wait for you to hear a little bit about her story and the value that she has brought into my life. She does not like to brag about herself, but I love to brag about her. So we're going to have lots of moments where I get to really lay it on her here. So without further ado, I want to welcome Alisha Merlo to the Bright Side of Beauty podcast. Welcome, Alisha.
Thank you, Delaney. That was a beautiful way to open up our conversation. And I think it speaks to the opportunity that we have to create deep connections that go beyond the boundaries and borders of just a working relationship if we allow it. And I think that the fruit of what we have come to build in our relationship together is something that has been a blessing to me. So thank you for having me as your guest. I'm really excited to be here.
Yes, I want to hear everything about your mission within ColoreScience. So for those of you who do not know Alisha, she is one of the wonderful team members of ColoreScience and a leader when it comes to their No Better Skin Pro program, heading that off, as well as uplifting all of the partners nationwide. She's at almost all of the events, unless there's something crazy where she's not able to be there. You will see her and meet her in person. She will give you a hug. She will uplift you and just love on you to the best of her ability. And that is something that Alisha is truly a natural at. She can't help herself. She has to pour the love of Christ into every single person that she crosses. So we're going to see that a lot today. And I want to hear about that. But first, Alisha actually shared something with me a couple of months ago, and she might not even remember this or not, but we hear all the time that we are the sum of the 5 people that we are the closest to, that we have around us the most. So we have to be really careful about those 5 people. And Alisha shared a reel with me, actually, that took a look at Jesus and the 12 disciples. So really spanning that out to the 12 people that you were around the most. And I always say, Alisha is in my 12 of when it comes to just everybody in kind of my sphere of influence. She is right there. Honestly, she's probably in that top 5, but she's definitely in that top 12 of influences in my life. And I'm just so grateful because we actually met a year ago. We just celebrated our year anniversary at Aesthetic
Happy
Next
anniversary.
this year. Happy anniversary. And in that year, I can't even wrap my head around the fact that we have not known each other forever, because it has been this organic relationship that has built and grown in so many different spans, from professional to personal. And it's just beyond my comprehension. It really is just a blessing from Jesus that we were connected all together. And we are going to be talking about faith a lot, because when you get the 2 of us together, it just happens. So buckle up, everyone. Anyways, let's get to talking about you in the professional sense. So please share a little bit with our audience about your role with ColoreScience and your mission in this world.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
Thank you so
ask.
much for the just warmth that you surrounded me and lifted me up with, a beautiful way to enter into this discussion. So my role at ColoreScience, and we'll start off with the title. I really feel titles are more externally important than internally, but my title is Executive Director of Professional Relations. And professional relations is not an uncommon role in companies, especially in the aesthetic or the healthcare industry. And really the initiative behind somebody in professional relations is that you're that extension of the company or the brand out into the experts in the field that you are focused on. So for example, in aesthetics, I work a lot with the key opinion leaders, whether that be the doctors that are doing the publications and the studies or on podium, to keep them up to date and current with what's going on in the brand and the products that we have, as well as media opportunities. So that's really a traditional role. But when I joined ColoreScience, what I just was so grateful for is that they created for me like a unicorn opportunity, because I have had the joy of seeing the evolution of aesthetics for 25 years. So I've been around a long time. You were, I don't know, how old were you 25 years ago?
I'm 27 turning 28. So
Yeah,
I was
so yeah, you were like a
2, 3
toddler
years old.
when I
Yes.
started. I'm actually predate Botox Cosmetics FDA approval. But anyway, so I've done a lot of things in that time. If you can imagine, I have done sales, I have done marketing, I have done clinical studies, I have done health tech and building communities, I have done education and training. So when I came to ColoreScience, what I just appreciated from the leadership team, which is Mary Fisher, our CEO, Ted Ebell, our Chief Business Officer, and a woman we both know and love very well, our Vice President Professional Business, Heather Goodchild, didn't say we're going to actually put you in one lane. We're going to see how we can maximize what your experience brings, but also what the company needs. So the role of professional relations is not just the one where I work in conjunction with the thought leaders external to the company, as I just defined, but I also have the opportunity to participate in our training and education programs, whether that's in person, as you mentioned, that I get to travel the country and face to face help to educate all of our partners, or I actually oversee our online learning platform for learning and development called the ColoreScience Professional Academy, where I say you go to know better skin. And then clinical studies, which has been a passion of mine, which is actually where I started really advancing my interest in the healthcare space and my journey outside of aesthetics before I even found aesthetics. And so I had the opportunity to actually work on products that are being studied to make sure that everything that we're saying they're going to do in an effective and safe manner. So I work with our Vice President of Research and Development, Patricia Boland, and her team. So really I cross a lot of lanes from sales, marketing, clinical, and business development. And it's a unicorn job, and I am so grateful. And I am always learning too. So that's another piece I think that's so great when you work in a company where you're feeling inspired and encouraged to stretch your muscles of growth after 2.5 decades. There's still that that I am able to achieve here at ColoreScience.
You definitely, we're probably both biased in this, but you definitely have the best team around when it comes to the actual people that you're working with, their hearts behind what they do professionally and personally. I mean, you have the best of the best in your sphere.
Yeah, culture is key, and I know beyond skin, right? Like you have strived to create a specific culture, and culture is what really is the lifeline of a company and an organization. And when you have a culture that is uplifting, that is encouraging, that knows how to handle conflict in a healthy way should it come up, that is supportive of that person, whether they're on the field of work every day or whether what's happening in life behind them. It is so key, and it does start at the top. So you as a managing partner, right, with your other managing partners, Dr. Malumba and Katie and your mom, Kim, like it starts there. And so you're
Mm-hmm.
absolutely right that I am truly blessed by this culture. It is extremely unique. And I've worked for some great companies. I would never bash any other company that I've been at. I've really had some unique opportunities to bring a lot of firsts to market in aesthetics in the 2.5 decades that I've had. So worked with some amazing leadership teams, but there's something unique and special and treasured about where I am today with ColoreScience.
It is. It's really cool. And it's benefited me the most. But one of the cool things you get to do too is attend different conferences. So, as we mentioned, we just celebrated our 1 year anniversary at Aesthetic Next. And when you are going to these conferences, typically you are with Heather and you see the two of you working the crowds and meeting people as you go. What is your goal when you go into these conferences? Do you go in with a certain goal, or do you really go in open minded between the two of you?
Well, Heather's an OG like me, so she has paid the same amount of time in the industry that I have. So I love that about us. So we've seen I like to say, the evolution of aesthetics come to play. When we get a chance to get out into the world and we're in front of the experts in aesthetics, right? You guys are the ones that are out there, that are seeing the patients and clients, that are delivering the care, are seeing the needs that are out there from a product space, a protocol, devices, programs in the office, marketing, whatever it is. My first goal when I go to a conference is to listen and learn. And those are two things I think that are fundamental to me as a person, but also to ColoreScience as a brand. I mean, Mary Fisher, I remember when we first had our first date, and she talked about that. She's like, we listen and we learn, and we don't silo ourselves to think we know better than those of who we serve every day, which ultimately is the person who chooses ColoreScience as their sink side essential and puts it on their faces or their loved ones' faces. So really making sure I'm listening and learning, and that's what I'm going to lead with, right? Because I can't be effective in my role to find solutions, to bring about fresh ideas and innovations if I am not listening and I'm always talking. And I'm great at the talking. Trust me. It's not anything that doesn't, play a part in all of this, but that's really the first and foremost thing, is to listen and learn and make those connections. And so when we're out there in the world of conferences, we're listening and learning, but we're also paying attention to the people that are saying the things to us that are meaningful. One of the things I love about where we are now with ColoreScience is that we're not afraid of the feedback. So if we have people that give us, we love the accolades and the applause, but we also take to heart those who give us the gift of constructive ideas and ways we can have opportunities to do things better and different. And so we're out there, I'm listening, I'm learning, but I'm also looking for those who really are passionate about what they are doing. And you can't teach passion, right? It's something that is inside you, right? It's almost something that is hardwired, when it's something that you get to do every day, whether it's your job or maybe it's a purpose outside of work that you've had. It could be faith-based, it could be cause-based, it could be hobby-based, whatever it is. So when I see somebody that has a lot of passion and enthusiasm, it catches my attention, and really for me, when I first saw you in Texas last year, I was like, it was kind of like that. There's certain, I don't know if it's a spidey sense that I get, but for you specifically, there was this like kindred spirit, like, wow, she's got a lot of just outward enthusiasm and excitement and passion for what she is doing, right? Not just about ColoreScience. That's wonderful, but like even beyond just ColoreScience, right? We love having raving fans, but there's a little bit deeper layer that if it's really not truly a purpose and a mission to say, I want to make people feel better, more confident, change their lives through their skin health, no matter what tools I have at my fingertips or what products I'm sending them home with, it makes a big difference. So I'm on the lookout for those that kind of have that fire in them. And then I want to be able to spend some time with those people because I gravitate to those people, because it's kind of like being part of the same tribe, I guess, in a way.
It definitely is. And I kind of shared a little teaser of our origin story in the episode with Angie, which is episode 4 of, I always say that you and Heather kind of just picked me up out of the crowd and we're like, okay, you can go jump off this building. I know that you can fly. And I really dove headfirst into this industry to take it on by storm and get on podium for the first time this year, but also start towards these dreams that I had for my career and not having those on hold, but really just taking the bull by the horns and jumping right into it. And with that, I would definitely say that the kind of intro to that is when I first met both you and Heather, you both were incredible at pulling out that deeper thinking within the people that you talk to at these events. So individually, I observed that you would sit down and you'd say, what's your favorite thing that you learned today? What did you learn? Because then I can learn it too. Or did you see this? This is what I really took away from it. What do you think about that? And it opened up this greater conversation, but also got the wheels spinning of the partners that you were talking to, or the new partners, the people that you had just connected with that you may not have known previously, to bridge that gap and make that connection. And it really does add a personal touch in that way. Like I instantly felt like, no, these people are my friends. I just met them, but they are my friends at this point. They care about what I think. I'm learning from them as well. It's a mutual connection versus just this, oh, it's so nice to meet you, I'll see you around type deal. And it's led to so much more within the past year of working together. And that really was pretty organic. So we connected on Instagram first at the event. And that's when we realized that we are both sisters in Christ as we were sharing our love for Jesus on our socials. And then I actually reached out to my rep, Katie, and said, I want to partner with ColoreScience in a bigger way. What are kind of options out there? And at this point, I didn't even know that the No Better Skin Pro program existed, or that you really headed that up and were the champion of the entire movement of the No Better Skin Pros and the good that is being done by sharing the importance of wearing sunscreen and connecting these minds that aren't just practitioners inside of the room, but really, business minds and strategic minds, like all the minds of the industry coming together. But I reached out to her and she was like, there's this thing. I'm not sure if it's a good fit for you, but we'll just see where it goes. What are your goals? So she kind of gathered that. We had connected separately, and it's almost like the stars aligned and kind of all came together with that. And I get asked all the time, how do you start working with brands? So from my perspective, it's organic in that way. It's doing that internal work of what are your goals? What's the impact that you want to have on your industry, on the world around you? Are you thinking very community based and local? Are you thinking on that bigger national scale? Are you thinking global? I mean, really doing that work to discover what your goals are and then communicating that and making sure that it's in an authentic way, not in a transactional way of just trying to get to the next step. What is your perception on that of how to start working with brands and building those connections? Would you say it is that organic, or is there a route for people to be able to take?
It's a yes and, but can I take a step back and talk a little bit about the No Better Skin program and the origin of that, because I think it'll really help people
Yes,
understand the purpose of it. Because
please
there
do. Yeah.
are brands out there that will ask you to speak for them specifically and talk at events and things like that. So I don't feel like that's entirely new to our aesthetic space or really any space. The No Better Skin Pros was really born out of the desire to create and elevate the power of a peer-to-peer exchange, right? Like when somebody works for a company and we share knowledge and information and statistics and data on specific things, whether it's the success of a program or the efficacy of a product or protocol, like that's expected, right? That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to educate. But what we saw was so important was to have the voice of those who were actually on the front lines, caring for patients and clients, and delivering those experiences. I call it street cred. You've probably heard me say that before, but truly you have the street cred because you are actually doing the things out there that we equip and empower our partners to do. So I think, so that was the heart behind it, is to really create a peer-to-peer program. But then what was also in parallel so important, this is really deep in my heart, have being in this industry for a long time, have had the joy and the honor and the gift of speaking on podium, of contributing to articles, being on podcasts, all those things thought of as, somebody that is invited to these opportunities. And when I go to conferences, I was seeing a lot of the same people, myself included, up there on the stage. And I thought, we have so much talent within just all of our partner groups. And I said, when we have this group of, peers in aesthetics, whether they're estheticians or they're practice managers or directors of operation, whatever their specialty is, because we have a mix of, what the roles are in each one of our partner clinics who becomes a pro, really wanted to get fresh faces out there. And I think that's so important. And I think it's something that you hear when you come to our Wear What Works events, where Heather talks about where you are at your years of experience within aesthetics, and whether you're 1 through 5, 5 through 10, 10 to 20, or 20 above, you bring something unique. And I was really inspired and encouraged to want to bring more fresh faces and voices and ideas to the forefront. And so that was really such an important piece of this as well, is even if it wasn't a voice just speaking about ColoreScience, it's a voice that's fresh and it has expertise and knowledge and experience that is new. that may have not been heard before over the years. And it is so exciting to see that come to fruition as well. So those are just some key things that were the heart behind creating the pros, is to create this community of our partners that would go out there and educate their peers based on their experience, not just information we're feeding you, and then also bring these fresh faces and voices to a bigger stage. And that could be on a podium like you, for those who have desired, or like you said, what if somebody's not sure they're ready for that? Or they can contribute to content in other meaningful ways, whether that's virtual meetings and guests, whether that's creating content for social or educational videos, or writing articles. There's so many different ways that you can have influence that doesn't require you, maybe if you're not ready yet. Although I challenge anybody, because I can tell you not anybody will ever say they're ready for the stage, but there's a lot of ways you can become prepared, but doing different things in parallel to be able to contribute to that overall growth, education, knowledge of other people. And I will tell you, at the end of the day, we never lose eyes on who we're serving. It's not ColoreScience. It's not just our partners. It's those who trust you for your recommendations and your care to get them to where they want to be with their skin health. And that's who we think about every day, no matter what avenue gets us to that person and how we're using it.
Absolutely. It always goes back to in the practice and what we are doing to impact the lives that we are able to touch, that are walking through our doors as practitioners, and how we're able to use said products or devices or services in a way. It all blends together. And I love the way that you explain the pros, because it really is peer to peer. And even when we are at things like the Wear What Works events, and I love the pro panel that you have started doing at the end, where it's like an Ask a Pro in a way, it really is. It's not necessarily us on a stage talking at people as much as it is a conversation and able to connect and learn from each other. And the group of pros that you have collectively put together really do have a heart for the people. And it all goes back to the people and connecting with not only each other, but the different partners at these events, and collaborating in that sense, and just bringing all of these ideas together to better our industry as a whole. It's a beautiful thing, and it takes the scariness away from it. So instead of having this influencer per se that you're listening to on a stage, it's just another person that's just like you, that practices the same way as you do when they go back into the treatment room, and they have patients just like you do on the same level. And it's a beautiful community that you've put together in that way.
And I love seeing you guys connect even outside of when we are kind of creating the opportunities. You and Angie, for example, as her being a guest in the conversation that you had about the patient experience and what you're trying to deliver and what is meaningful and impactful for those, again, who are in your treatment rooms, right? And how that may look different, right? From clinic to clinic, right? It doesn't always look the same, but it's so helpful to be able to see the outpouring of relationships that go beyond just being like what you're doing with ColoreScience directly. Like that makes like a pro mama's heart so happy to see those exchanges and opportunities and connections taking place.
It is. It's really, really fun. So I think too, when you think of building that community within our industry, when you graduate from esthetician school or whatever your journey may be into aesthetics, especially for those that are working as solo estheticians that might have their own place, or they may be the only esthetician that's working with nurses, practitioners, PAs, MDs of some sort, it can be scary to reach out and build that community of other skin experts and learn from each other. What would be your advice for those that are looking to connect with others in the aesthetics industry?
You mean from a level just of like starting to build community? Like somebody that's getting out of just as, oh goodness.
Yes. Well, I mean, building community, but also brands. I feel like it's very universal.
Got it.
Yeah. Just connecting with other people.
I think one of the beautiful things that social media can do is create us the opportunity to connect with people beyond the boundaries of time and space. Like that is fantastic. Like one of the good things, right? And I think the first thing stepping into this really, Delaney, is finding people that resonate with you, that are speaking and creating content and engaging with them there, right? Not just the brands, but just others in that community, because you'll learn from them. So if you're newly out of aesthetic school, right? You can go to find these mentors, almost like, even though they might not be mentoring you directly, but these mentors online who might align with the approach that you have to your practice and clinic, or may be maybe a little edgier and doing things that you're not doing yet, but boy, maybe I want to aspire to be like that. So I think social media is a powerful tool that everyone should use. When it comes to connecting with brands, and again, you spoke to something so beautiful. You said organic, not manufactured. And I think there's a heart behind it. So when I'm looking at saying, like, okay, who would be a wonderful pro, I have to give it a shout out to our crew teams that work every day with all of our partners. Katie, who is just incredible and talented, and you've raved about her to me personally. So I'm just going to give Katie a huge shout out here on your
Oh
podcast,
my gosh.
because she
She's
really
been a game
was
changer
that
for us.
extension of helping you to take that next step, even though you and I had connected on a different level. And I was like, yes, let's bring her into this for sure. But working closely with the brands, the first thing is to be open to learning new ideas and new things, like listening to things, being open. And also, one of the things that gets brands' attention is when you're actually in partnership. So we call those that we connect with, purchase ColoreScience for their patients and clients partners. You're not a customer. I hate the word account. You talked about things being transactional. It's a partnership. So what is a partnership? It's where two people, two entities or businesses come together for mutual benefit and mutual responsibility for the success of that relationship. Mutual, right? So a lot of times, people have this like one-sided feeling with brands. Like the brand says, well, you're just there to order product for me and help promote me. And then the partners might be like, well, you're just there for me to buy product from and train me and give me, promotions and discounts. And that's a transactional relationship. And that's out there, right? That's some one type of relationship that you can have. But when it goes deeper, Delaney, I think, and somebody shows up and says, I want to learn more, I want to do new things, I'm going to show up for those meetings that we're having, right, to be able to talk about our business planning. I'm going to make sure that I'm taking advantage of every opportunity that I can that you're providing for me to be successful in education and marketing and promotion. I'm going to give back, right? Like those things are so wonderful. I'm going to share ideas in a constructive way. Like, hey, if we don't do something well, rather than complain and go put it in a chat group, right, or put it on social media on blast, which is, come to the brand and say, hey, I think there's an opportunity to do this differently, or this was my experience. Would you be open to it? In a very healthy way. We're, cancel culture, I feel like it's starting to go down a little bit from what it was. So I really think being a meaningful contributor to the success of the brand, which then bleeds into the success of your business, is key. So really open to learning and growing, open to doing new things, showing up and being a true partner, right? Making those meetings, executing on the action items you say you're going to do on both sides of that, giving back, and then also just saying, I would love to learn more about opportunities to work with your brand at a bigger level. I love you. I love what you're doing. I've experienced the success, and I don't want to do it just for me and my ego. I don't want to do it so I can see my name in lights and on podium and in magazines and quoted, but I want to do it because ultimately I want to give something back to aesthetics, which is an area that I've dedicated my professional life to so that others will succeed as well. And that's a heart behind it. It's hard not to pay attention to people who come with that approach.
That is definitely true. And I always say that in our industry, typically people are getting into it because that is their heart at the core.
Yes.
But it is very glitzy glammy. There are name and lights that are out there.
For sure.
There is definitely that trajectory, but staying true to that core mission of impacting lives, why you got into it. I'm very open about my story of how I got into aesthetics and the struggles that I had, staying true to those struggles that you have had so that you can put yourself in your patient's shoes and guide them along the way, or be there in the journey with them, showing that you struggle with the same things as they do. It goes really far. And same thing when you're partnering with brands, being honest, communicating with them of what your goals are, how you can help them too, because of course, at the end of the day, it's two businesses that are coming together to benefit each other in a way. But being open in that communication, and again, looking at it like it's person to person. It's not necessarily just this big corporation, but there are people behind the brand.
Yes. Yes. And getting the opportunity to know them too. One of the things
Yeah.
that, and there's a quote I always share with our pros, you'll recognize when I say it, but it's from John Maxwell. For those of you who may not know John Maxwell, he's been around for a long time. He's written hundreds of books, and he's kind of a leadership guru or leadership expert. He has a company called the Maxwell Company. Great podcasts if you're looking for podcasts. Comes from a place of acts of service and a giver's heart. But he says leaders know the way, they go the way, and they show the way. And truly, if you feel a call to a leadership kind of role and opportunity, which is what this is, then you need to look at all three. You got to know what you're doing. You got to go and do what you say that you're going to do. And then you have to bring others alongside you to set them up for success. Because that's what leaders do. Leaders build other leaders. Leaders invest in the future of said area of knowledge, expertise, or experience.
Absolutely. Every time you share that quote, it reignites a fire of, yes, you got to have the follow through with it, of dream big and then follow through on those dreams. And sometimes it's a bumpy road as you go with it, but that's a part of being a leader, is at least trying and helping others in their dreams as they go too. I feel like I always go back to like these magical dreams and stuff. It's probably just the Disney princess that's hidden somewhere down inside of me.
Yes,
like,
you have been
dream
dubbed the
big,
Disney princess of
dream big.
aesthetics, so that's kind of sticking. Thank you, Tiffany Hall.
Thank you, Tiffany Hall. I will take that and wear that very proudly. Thank you very much. It's really fun to go to these different events. And we have both found a passion in speaking and using our voices in a way of connecting with others. But there are so many different ways to get involved with brands. And that is one of the questions that I put a question box on my Instagram. That's one of the questions that I've gotten repeatedly, but also again today, of if I don't want to speak on podium, what can I do? What are options out there to be able to partner with brands that are more behind the scenes?
Yeah, so I'll share just from the way we've worked with our pros. So again, not everybody has those aspirations at the moment. I try to be a big encourager for those who have just so much that they can share and give back. But things that we actually ask our pros to be able to contribute to are creating videos. So video content of you in the treatment room, doing finishing touch protocol, or showing how you apply the All Calm 3-step regimen with the Barrier Pro Duo. You did a great video. And I just want to give a nod to that video for you that we use in educational events and on our educational platform, because you can have the highly produced videos that we do have, which are fantastic for training. But again, to be able to share what's happening in your treatment room, showing the hands-on on real patients and clients, and getting those real world experience tips and tricks. So content could be video. We also love writing content. So we put out a kind of No Better Skin Pro article. We use that on our LinkedIn, and we'll contribute it and link to it in our partner emails to get the word out about certain things, how you address rosacea, skin cancer awareness, approaching melasma, pairing products and procedures, repairing summer sun damage, how you maximize programs in your practice like rewards programs and sales events. So really there can be written content. Also, sometimes, and we've brought this opportunity to several of our pros, and you were the happy recipient of one of these, is to actually get put in the publications, whether that's in a beauty magazine where you're quoted. We've had several of our pros quoted in a beauty magazine, or a protocol written for Skin Inc., which is what you actually shared, Delaney, which was fantastic to write that protocol so you can get published, whether that's published in a ColoreScience piece or published in a more mass media piece. There's also the opportunity to get early access to products or be a part of conversations in product development. That is super fun to have that sneak peek early access. And we love bringing that to our pros because we know that you have an idea of what great looks like and what experience should look like, and that you will be honest with us and trust us with your feedback, or you will be super excited and ready to go, or even ready to go before we're ready to go launching products. So that's other areas. Virtually, maybe the big stage where you're standing up in front of everybody is not for you. We've invited people to be in virtual educational event guests as well. So there's really a whole kind of scope of opportunities that you can have to share your expertise and knowledge with others. So if you're not somebody who's ready for podium, that you can still contribute in other meaningful ways that are the different modes of how people can gain their knowledge.
And they're all so, so fun. I would say my personal piece of advice with all of that too is if you do voice that you would like to start partnering with brands and they give you these opportunities, be diligent on what you say yes to. If it feels like it is way far out of your comfort zone, be honest and say, okay, I'll give it my best shot. Not sure how this is going to work, or can you give me a little bit more guidance with that? Say yes to everything that you can say yes to, and just try, because you might find that you have a new passion that you didn't know that you loved doing until you try it for the first time when the opportunity is put in front of you. But always be very honest of what you can handle, because at the end of the day, of course, we do have our businesses outside of these brand partnerships. And that's something that I feel very blessed that at ColoreScience, y'all have been very gracious. And, with every opportunity you say is, we don't want to ask too much. We do have this opportunity, and where it's a very lighthearted opportunity versus like, we want you to do this and can you have it done by tomorrow type deal. Like it's very soft in it, but having that open communication with the brands and get excited about it, but just try new things. Don't get scared of the new opportunities, because typically these brands are willing to work with you through it, and they want you to succeed too, because when you succeed, they succeed. And when they succeed,
And I will
you
say
succeed.
that's advice I took myself professionally years ago. I didn't know how to do certain things that I actually have mastered now and do really well because I said yes. And Richard Branson famously said, somebody asks you to do something you've never done before, say yes and figure it out along the way. With the full disclosure that like this is something new, but you're going to figure it out, and then surround yourself with people who can help you to gain more knowledge and experience in those things. So for example, with our pros, the way we do it is if you're going to go on podium and say, okay, good luck, here's an event, submit your abstract. No, we'll say, if you've not done this before, let me show you how to write an abstract. You should always submit more than one abstract. Submit at least 3, because your chances are 3 times better. And if you submit 1, you have, a yes or a no. So there's how to put your presentations together, how to speak, on the stage, appropriately and publicly. So one of the things with the brands that you're going to work with is it's really good to know, are you going to be independent, or do they have coaching, and the opportunity for somebody to help coach you through some of these things that may be new.
Absolutely. That's a great segue, actually, for another question that we received, which I know the answer to this question, but I would love for you to share all of your different ways, because I know you prepared in different ways. But how did you prepare to be on podium for the first time? And what do you continuously do every time you are speaking at, whether it be an event, a conference, or via Zoom for a training? What are ways that you prepare yourself to communicate the most effectively?
Oh my goodness. So take me back to 2010 when I first spoke on podium at Vegas Cosmetic Surgery. I remember it. I remember my talk was on adopting a behavioral assessment into your practice and the benefits of that. It was called Predictive Index. It's very similar to like Strength Finders and Working Genius, like all of those behavioral assessments that help you peel back the layers of the individual and see what their strengths are and where they could contribute to the business in a most meaningful way. Helps with team chemistry, all this stuff. So I think the first thing for me to prepare on podium, and if you're going to be in aesthetics, there's 2 ways to get on podium. You submit an abstract, which means you already know what you're going to want to talk about, right? You'll have a title and a small snapshot of what your talk is about, and then the objectives of what you're trying to accomplish, which is a fantastic framework to prepare. Sometimes you'll be invited to speak, and that's when you're just asked to speak, and they'll give you a topic because they've seen you out there, or they assume or understand that you should be knowledgeable in this area. Either way, I think it's very important to start off with understanding what you want to communicate and how much time you have to communicate it in, and then work your way backwards from there. I always start with kind of an outline on paper. Then I create the visuals and the slides, and then I create the talk track, and then I practice and rehearse it. I don't usually script myself because I'm more comfortable riffing it, if that kind of makes sense, until recently. So if I feel I'm a subject matter expert and I know what I want to include, I may say things differently all the time because I love having the freedom and flexibility to be in the moment. And that also can depend on the audience as well. So that's one way. But I also want to grow and develop as a speaker. So I sought out a coach myself this year, and worked through a program through a consulting company called KLC Consulting, and Kaylee Lindholm, who shout out to, was another part of our origin story, let's face it, last year as well. And she has a program within her program called Voices of Impact, led by Krista DeNargo. And I took this six session course to be able to add storytelling to the way that I present and speak, because people will remember stories and then tie those stories to the content or information because there's emotion. And I'd never done that before, really in a powerful and meaningful way. So I encourage anybody who is out there to really look at having a process of preparation that you feel would work for you. Don't feel like you have to do it just like somebody else. The comparison, trap is real. So you want to make sure that you can see people you admire and what you like. You can learn if you have a relationship with them about how they prepare. But ultimately, it's going to be a process that you develop and evolve on your own. But knowing your subject matter, rehearsing that subject matter, and then seeking out outside experts to be able to help you to level up to where you may want to go. And I will say I will never regret having gone through Voices of Impact, because it helped me to tell a story that was tied to a talk that was very important for me to give this year on cause marketing. And that was a message from our Heavenly Father above on how to bring him to the marketplace in a meaningful way to have a greater impact on basically the world, hopefully. And I used storytelling to be able to break open people's hearts and minds to receive the information about the value cause marketing can bring to a business.
And you did the break same. Open. I tried. Yes, absolutely. And I did work with Krista as well. And she helped me in so many ways. She was honestly a therapist some days, helping me work through my emotions of things and communicate my story to the best of my ability with that. But for your talk specifically, to say that you broke open the hearts and minds of the people in your session is an understatement. You had semi-prepared me. We had both shared with each other, I think I'm going to cry when I'm on stage, but maybe not. So we're going to find out. But we hadn't really shared the full story behind either one of our talks ahead of then. And so I was prepared for the first 5 minutes of your session. I was not prepared to cry at the end as well. I mean, you really brought it from like this place of heartbreak and triumph all the way to the success on the other end of it. And do you mind sharing a little bit about the ending of your session and how great our God is in connecting all of those pieces together, and how when you do step out of your comfort zone and share these things? Do you mind
sharing my last slide?
Yeah. If not, we can cut this part out. If not.
No, it's fine. I don't mind. I just want to make sure I'm tracking with you, because I'm like, oh gosh, do I really remember what? Because sometimes I will tell you, like I blacked out right before I spoke, and I didn't remember a thing I said until I opened my mouth. Like that is real, you guys. If you're going to present on podium, and it's not just me who focuses on the aesthetic stage, you will talk to the big Kindra Halls of the world and these keynote speakers, and many of them will say, I kind of have a blackout moment, or I still get, filled with all these emotions. I like to channel nervousness into excitement personally. So just know these things are real. So when you say like what you said at the end, I'm like, oh goodness, I don't know if I really remember what I said at the end.
Specifically your last slide and how that transpired.
What?
Specifically your last slide and how that transpired afterwards.
Yes. So cause marketing in essential is a way, and I want to kind of give a little background on this talk. So cause marketing extends beyond general philanthropy, which is when you would donate, right? Most philanthropy is, you raise money, fundraise money to contribute to a cause that is important. But cause marketing is really forming a strategic partnership with a cause and an organization working in that cause for mutual benefit, right? The benefit, one of the benefits can be financial. Another benefit is education and awareness and impact. But it's more than just a kind of a one and done. And I taught how you can build campaigns around this and how to measure the success of it and really put together a specific plan of implementation. But what was so important for me through this talk, because it didn't come to me just for Alisha having an idea, it really came as a divine appointment where I felt the Lord calling me to bring him to the marketplace. And it's usually not considered politically correct to have these conversations at work or on the stage where it's not expected. But I just felt really called, because one of the things that is so biblical, and it's so important to God, is obviously love the Lord with all your heart, strength, and might, but love others as yourself. And love is not an emotion. True biblical love is love in action, right? It's called agape love, right? It's love in action. And so as I went through this talk, shared a very emotional, powerful, faith-filled story in the beginning, walked through, how to be able to understand what cause marketing is, implement it, and inspire people to be able to adopt it, I really ended it with a quote that everybody knows and might not always recall the author. So the quote is, "It is more blessed to give than receive." And I ended on that slide. And the author of that quote is Jesus Christ himself. And I think it was such a powerful way to be able to put a bow on it, to get people to be inspired, whether they have faith in their life or not. People can understand and connect with that, because we're wired deep in our core. Our Creator wired us to be able to love and serve others. And so when we do that, we get long-lasting fulfillment versus these brief moments of happiness when we're only serving ourselves.
So true. So true. Oh, I love that. Okay. I want to transition two different ways. And I think from there, let's just go right into my question for all guests, and then we'll pivot for a little giveaway at the end of this. Okay. I love to ask all of my guests, what is beautiful to you? And you can take that any direction you'd like to.
I appreciate this question, because the cliche is beauty is in the eye of the beholder, which is true. Mm-hmm. So you being able to allow your guests to be able to communicate what is beautiful to them. I had to write it down, because I really put some thought into this. And I want to read it to you. So if it looks like I'm reading, I am. Okay. All right, here we go. To me, beauty is so much more than what meets the eye, is a reflection of God's love and grace in every aspect of our lives. Physically, I see beauty in the delicate design of nature, the vibrant colors of a sunset, and even the uniqueness of every face. Each detail, each breath is a reminder of God's creativity and perfection. Emotionally, beauty is found in vulnerability, the moments when we open our hearts to love, to joy, to sorrow, and to healing. It is in the strength of connection, the tenderness of compassion, and the courage to show up as our true selves. And spiritually, beauty is a depth of faith, the peace that surpasses understanding, and the hope that carries us through the darkest days. It's the way God's presence shines through us when we love and serve others, reflecting his light. True beauty is all-encompassing, physical, emotional, and spiritual, and it is a testament to the divine artistry that touches every part of our lives.
Wow, that is poetry, my friend. You have such a way with words and communicating your heart beyond all else. Well, Jesus's heart. I think every time you open your mouth, it's just Jesus's heart pouring right out.
I'm his hype girl, so.
You are. You absolutely are. I'm blessed enough too that because you're his hype girl, you're also everybody else's, including mine. And I definitely feel that love all the time, because you just pour out his love to everyone you cross, but especially your people. You make sure that they're just surrounded all the time. And I appreciate you so much. And I love that description in so many different ways, because this is the Bright Side of Beauty podcast, and we're looking at obviously the aesthetic side of things, but tying it to what is that doing in a bigger meaning. And I feel like you just summarized that so beautifully of it is in the eye of the beholder, and there are physically beautiful things, but it goes so much deeper than that. And our hearts are what really are the beautiful thing.
Agreed.
I love that. I love that so much. Okay, on to the fun stuff. I'm kind of impressed I didn't start crying, because I almost did there. And let's be real, I always cry when we talk.
I got welled.
A little bit there, a little bit. Oh my goodness. But jumping into a little giveaway with this, and I want to tell kind of a backstory of that. So we're both wearing our cute hats today. I appreciate you wearing yours. And little story of how cute hats came about and why I started making my own cute hats as a gift for all of my podcast guests, is actually from the ColoreScience Wear What Works events. And I got my first cute hat last year in Dallas, and I started wearing basically the ColoreScience hats that you get at the Wear What Works events every Friday, and I would call it Cute Hat Friday, and that caught on, especially with the ColoreScience team, but kind of spread like wildfire, and others that didn't have their ColoreScience hats were still wearing cute hats and then tagging me in it, and I thought, well, I need a cute hat. So I designed a cute hat, well, a couple different cute hats, and then I created a ColoreScience specific cute hat. So that is one of the original cute hats that has a little bit of ColoreScience bling down the side of it as well, with the Bright Side of Beauty podcast. Yes, yep, a little bit of blue going on there in ColoreScience colors. So in honor of that and the origin of cute hats being somewhat together, we are going to give away a cute hat to everyone that does not have one yet already. So how can you get your very own cute hat? You're going to want to follow the Bright Side of Beauty podcast, as well as my Instagram, which is Skin by Delaney Danielle. No dots, no spaces, just all one word together. And then Alisha, if you can actually share real quick where our listeners can find you at on Instagram. Well, anywhere, but specifically Instagram.
So two places you can find me: on LinkedIn. You know, I'm a champion of LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the largest professional network possible. And actually, if I could go back to a tip to somebody who wants to get engaged with brands, start creating content on LinkedIn, start sharing on LinkedIn, start following people on the brand from LinkedIn, not just your local representatives, but the CEO and all of those things. So that one's on the house. So Alisha Merlo on LinkedIn. And then my Instagram is Alisha_Rose, which is my maiden name, _Merlo. I will tell you, my Instagram is set to private. I have had issues in the past. I'm not a public personality like Delaney here, her podcast, or many of our partners. So yeah, I got a little exhausted by some of the inappropriateness that was coming from my being public, but
yes,
happy. I confirm and accept people as they come in and request to connect on Instagram. It's just not it's a little bit more of a gated platform for me these days. So
it's a gated community at this point. Well, are you okay with our listeners following you as part of this giveaway?
Please, absolutely. Perfect. But just know I'll be following you back, because we know reciprocity is king. On social media to be able to do that. But yes. Just don't be afraid. Just request it, and I'll confirm it and accept it. And you can send me a message if somehow I missed it and deleted yours, and you want to connect. If you're interested, I am not as amazing and exciting content creator as Delaney is, and some of our other pros and some of the people in the industry. But I do my best to represent who I am, and that's authenticity. Which is something that I believe Katie said is beautiful, as well.
Mm-hmm. She did say that on episode 2. You'll have to go back and listen to that one as well, specifically the end when we talk about the question. She goes into that. But yes, for the giveaway then, well, and I'll say before I go into specifics with the giveaway, beware, if you do connect with Alisha, you are making a friend. So just know that you are actually connecting with a human on the other side. It is not just a page that will exist on your follows list and your followers list, but she is absolutely engaging and connects with the human being behind it. But you are going to follow the Bright Side of Beauty podcast, Skin by Delaney Danielle, and then Alicia's handle, Alisha Rose Merlo. And Then on the Bright Side of Beauty podcast, we are going to have a couple of teaser reels from here. So go back to those and put your favorite part from this podcast in the comments. And then we will send you a message to get your address, and voila, free cute hat so that you can tag us on Cute Hat Friday and just start enjoying them everywhere you go.
I will tell you, even the TSA at the airport love this hat.
The amount of comments you get. So many people are just like, oh, hey, cute hat. And you're like,
yeah,
oh,
cute hat. I'm like,
nice.
yes, it is. It's
Thank
totally
you.
a cute hat. Well, Delaney, I just have to give one last prop and shout out to you. Thank you for having this conversation and allowing us to talk about opportunities for others who have a heart to give back to this space and elevate others through their expertise and experience through programs like the No Better Skin Pro or other ambassadors. It really, I think, is such a meaningful way to be able to give back to the community, since you have so many people that are excited about learning more. And I hope and pray that people will be inspired and encouraged to seek out these opportunities, and then also really make sure that you're ready and prepared, because it's very exciting, and that your heart's in the right place, and that you are taking advantage of these things in a meaningful way that will have impact beyond, I think, what you would even imagine or expect.
Oh yeah, it's a roller coaster that just starts rolling, and then you're along for the ride. So you just gotta hold on and go along with it. But I would totally agree with that, and thank you very much. I hope that the listeners are able to get value from that side of things, and then also are inspired to share their faith and their beliefs in the marketplace and stand fearlessly in that, because we know what power is behind that as well. And knowing that they have two champions in both of us as they do embark on that journey. And I can't wait for all the connections that come from this. Thank you so much for joining us today. You're incredible. All right, guys, we will see you next week on The Bright Side of Beauty. Bye, guys.